Today we have in our hands an EM or in-ear monitor named Aurora from 7 Hz. This is an EM which has 3 tech drivers in the same EM. 4 drivers in total, but 3 different technologies. We have 1 dynamic driver, 2 balanced armatures, and 1 planar magnetic driver. So let's see how the Aurora sounds like. Here we have the Aurora, an EM with a really thick and sturdy cable, and this cable is a defining property of them because it's actually quite a bit heavy. The EM shells are also quite a bit heavy and large. But that doesn't prove to be such a big issue because they are designed ergonomically, they enter my ear right in the perfect angle so that they actually are comfortable, somewhat, because the EM is still a bit larger and I can feel it inside of my ear. That being said, it's comfy enough for me to give it a passing grade for comfort. The cable has this larger connector, and the cable is actually modular, so you can remove the connector. You can make the cable either balanced in 4.4mm or single-ended in 3.5mm format. For driving the 7 Hz Aurora, I've used the selection of exotic sources, including the Ibeso D16 Type 1 and the Ibeso PB5 Osprey. So I even stacked those two, but it is not necessary. I just did it because I like to experiment with the sound. Aurora scales a lot with the sound. It will improve significantly if you have a better source, especially if you have a balanced source, but also if you have a high resolution source. The passive noise isolation is quite strong, between 20 and 25 decibels of passive noise isolation, but it's quite even, so no specific frequencies push through. They leak almost none. There is no driver flex because there is ventilation, and the ventilation design is actually quite complex because it has a dynamic driver for the bottom end. And now on to the sound, because of course you are here about the sound. The comfort is okay, build quality is very sturdy, but they can be a bit large and heavy. Those would be the best ways to define the Aurora. The sound of the Aurora is literally one of the weirdest sounds out there in a positive way. Each driver has a different speed and different impulse response time, which means that each driver has its own signature. The bass driver is quite slow and it creates a slopey and full bass. It's a whoop-o, whoop-o, whoop. It's a really satisfying type of bass. Then the balanced armatures are incredibly fast. They have a very high resolution, but still they inherit a bit of body and a bit of presence from the bass driver, which is pleasing. So you get a high resolution, but you also get a full and bountiful sound. It's rich in the overall presentation. Instruments make sense. They sound like instruments, not like they are cut out and made of cartoon or of cardboard, if you are American. The cable does pull them down, but at the same time that's a positive because the EMs are quite heavy, so they sit like this in your ear, and when the cable pulls them down, they actually go deeper inside of your ear, so that actually works well for their comfort. The shells are some of the most beautiful shells out there. If you can see this, it has a special glimmery effect, kinda, so it looks really beautiful. The ear tips are of a good quality, decent enough, but as I was saying, the mid-range is very revealing, but at the same time the bass still gives it a bit of body, so it's a very unusual presentation. Usually the mid-range, if it's fast, it's a bit thin. If it's slow, it's fuller and thicker. Here you have both a thick sound and a fast mid-range. The treble is one of the fastest, but still not one of the most aggressive trebles out there. It's a bit aggressive, but it only shows what's in the song and what's in the track. I was writing the written review last night, so I had a good experience with them, because with some songs I noticed there is no treble. Where is the treble? What happened to the treble? And then I played the different song. There it is. There is the treble. The main difference was the actual recording and the actual mastering. I put up a spectrograph to see why I don't hear treble on some songs, and it was not present in the recording. So Aurora is a great EM if you want to hear exactly what's in the track. They will reveal exactly that. They won't add anything, they won't take away anything, it's just the music itself that's there. This kind of presentation has the advantage of being Studio Pro, but has the disadvantage of sometimes revealing how poor some albums and recordings are. And that's sad, because for example I can't really enjoy YouTube songs with the Aurora, I can enjoy Tidal tracks, and I can't really enjoy albums which were recorded with a low cutoff point for the treble. Sometimes some bands did use a low cutoff point. So for example, there was no treble above 9 kilohertz, or it was much weaker than the treble before it, or the upper mid-range if you want. And Aurora will show that quite a lot. This is somehow in stark contrast to the Sennheiser EA900, which has such a signature that it adds treble even where it isn't really evident. So the EA900 makes the upper mid-range more powerful, it gives it more sharpness and sparkle, which gives you the feeling that there is treble. You never feel like, oh, there is no treble. With EA900, you always, there is a lot of treble. But with the 7Hz Aurora, you never think that there is treble. There is treble if the track is bright, but if the track is dark, if the song is actually a bit smooth, the sound is smooth. It will show music as it is. The planar magnetic driver has one of the fastest impulse response rates out there, so it's incredibly fast. This means both that it's revealing, but also that it can be a bit fatiguing, in theory. In practice, because it isn't tuned very loud compared to the mid and the bass drivers, it's pleasing. The whole result is very pleasing. So why is it weird? It's weird because usually you don't have this amount of body with this amount of resolution in the same spot. Usually you have them separated. You either have a high resolution sound which is bright, or you have a bassy sound which is not the most revealing out there. Aurora combines everything and puts it in one EM. The result is an EM which is immensely enjoyable. I think it's an acquired taste. Once you hear it, you will either love it because you love resolution and hearing everything, or you won't love it because you wanted something more natural. The sound will never come through as very natural, especially in the mid-range where you can hear each driver doing its own thing, and especially at the mid where it seems like they overlap, both the bass overlaps, the balanced armatures, and then there is a bit of that planar magnetic driver character. Everything just kinda combines where the voices are, so voices tend to be pretty natural, but you hear more texture than you are supposed to. This is how I would describe the overall signature. Aurora is a mystic EM for me at this point, because I really enjoy the sound. With rock and with metal, it's a blast, it's perfect. With gaming, it's extraordinary. With jazz is not great, because with jazz I wanted a deeper, smoother sound and I wanted it to sound a bit more natural. With classical music, it's actually very revealing. It shows layering very well, but it's on the side where timbre isn't the most natural. Also, this is something that you should take into account. The soundstage each driver has is different, which is also unusual because the bass driver has a wide soundstage. There is a lot of bass filling the entire space of the sound, and the same can be said about the planar driver. It creates that air in a wide space, but the balanced armatures where the voices are quite narrow in the soundstage. So voices and most instruments are presented very much in your face, but the bass is wide and slopey and it fills the entire space with bass, and the treble does the same thing. So a very unique presentation. As I said, it's a weird EM, but it's an EM that I find quite enjoyable. Colored in that tuning, not for everyone for sure, but if you find it enjoyable, you will have a blast with it. Especially for rock and metal, it works really well. For EDM, pop music, gaming, HEG or anime, comics, manga music, like VTuber songs or Vocaloid songs, it works really well. The naturalness of the timbre doesn't matter that much because those voices were not natural to begin with. In fact, Vocaloid voices don't exist, they are synthetic. I hope I won't create a synthetic love for the Aurora. I hope that if you do purchase them, you'll genuinely have a good time with them. This is my whole point, the whole point of why I'm filming videos. Please have a bit of fun, please enjoy what you're doing, please enjoy the music you're listening to. Don't force yourself to listen to styles you don't want to. Sometimes I am in the mood to blast some black metal, sometimes I listen to church choirs. Everything, absolutely everything, and everything in between. Just enjoy what you are in the mood for, and if you purchase them, I hope you'll have a really good time. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye.